is a science of mind and matter, how the mind is influencing the body, and in return how body is influencing the mind.
I always wanted to attend a vipassana meditation retreat, but every time I look into a particular retreat, it was either fully booked or has a very long waiting time. I didn't really have any luck until someone in Chiang Mai told me about his experience up in Mae Hong Son, and the fact that the retreat that he went to accepts anybody even without any reservations. So instead of cycling straight to Laos, I have decided to do a little detour to Pai and this monastery. After having some breakfast, Raki and I took the yellow bus which leaves Pai twice every morning. Upon arrival, we were asked to register with our passports and take a COVID antigen test. After receiving a few important information about the monastery, we then pick up our clothes and bedding. The bedding consists of blankets, pillows, and mattresses. As a reminder, don't expect a sub-cozy bedding that you would expect in a hotel. The accommodation being provided is either a shared dorm room, a private bungalow, or a tent. Wat Pa Tam Wua is a very relaxing place, but please bear in mind that this is not like any relaxation center. Here, everyone is expected to be respectful of the rules and guidelines, and the timetable. The Wat Pa Tam Wua Forest Monastery was founded by the Abbott about 30 years ago, after he traveled all around Thailand. When he arrived in this area, he found caves and started meditating. When the locals found out what he was doing, they then started offering food, asking him to teach Buddhism, and building bungalows as sanctuary for monks and visitors. Wat Pa Tam Wua has now become one of the most popular vipassana meditation centers in the world. The programs are taught in Thai and English, hence why it attracts so many foreign visitors like myself. In this episode, we will delve into the profound concept of Satipatthana and focus on one of its four foundations, the mindfulness of the mind. We will then divide this into two sections such as the Samatha and the Vipassana in order to present the doctrines in a more organized fashion. To depict what day looks like in this monastery, I compiled the videos captured in the 12 days I've spent here into a single timeline as if they happened all in one day. I hope that when you're done watching this, some of your core beliefs about the nature of the world and of yourself will be challenged. In a good way. Now, let's go through this one by one and see how much of Buddha's teachings deepens our understanding of reality. So grab a seat because we are going deep on this one. I welcome you to the great Buddhist teaching of the mindfulness of the mind. The doctrine of the Buddha is simply called Dhamma. It was discovered by Buddha as he sat beneath the Bodhi tree, and it was taught to the world for the peace and happiness of mankind. It leads to freedom from all kinds of suffering, which is the big bad word in Buddhism, dukkha. In order to be free from suffering, one must practice the following. The source of all truth is within one's own mind and heart. By practicing Dhamma, one can discover the truth and gain salvation. You yourself must make an effort, as any prayer to Buddha or any God cannot prevent an event of suffering. The Buddha can only show the way. The day at the monastery starts with the rice offering to the monks at the Dhamma hall. Here, there will be volunteers who will serve the rice to the plates, and everyone else would then sit in line and wait to offer the rice to the monks. This is quite a unique experience and offers a great insight to the Thai culture in general. At 7 a.m., food is then served to the guests and volunteers. The meals are all vegetarian and are typically accompanied by rice and fruits. Satipatthana is the very foundation of mindfulness. It is the Buddha's most systematic explanation of the training of the mind for the truth to be realized. Satipatthana covers nearly all other teachings of the Buddha, including moral conduct, concentration, and wisdom. However, in this video, we will only focus on one area that I have learned in this retreat, and that is the mindfulness of the mind. In practicing the mindfulness of the mind, there are two types of meditation. These are the samatha and the vipassana. Samatha is the practice of calming the mind. The purpose of samatha is to bring a mind that is not peaceful to the state of peace, and to bring a mind that is not happy to a state of happiness. It combines the development of inner peace and concentration together. Let me explain. For most people in today's modern world, the immediate objective is to cope with stress. However, there are other benefits of having such a state of mind, such as it can improve mental health, develop inner peace and tranquility, which fosters serenity, contentment, and happiness. And the ultimate benefit of concentration is cleansing out the 5 hindrances, which constrict our mental processes. At 8 in the morning, everyone is invited to the morning Dhamma talk, and the monks will then lead the morning walking meditation for about an hour in the garden.
In Thailand, we have there is one pra every week, and but some are more important than others. There is the full moon, and then there are each of the half moons that we have during the month, and then finally there's the new moon. Today is the new moon, so don't go looking for the moon tonight, you won't see it, it's not there. But this is also a special new moon because it's also the Chinese New Year. So by the Chinese reckoning, this is the beginning of their year, the spring festival. So for them, winter is coming to an end and spring begins, which I think we will all welcome here, the warmer weather and such. So it's the beginning of the year of the rabbit, or the cat, depending on how you like to reckon things. Both are, I think in China it's the rabbit, in Vietnam I think maybe the cat. And it's always interesting, the idea of the new year, because different places in the world reckon the new year at a different time. There's the Islamic New Year, there's the Jewish New Year, of course there's the Thai New Year, which won't be here till April. And then there's the Indian, various places in India have different New Years. And they're usually related to something in the lunar solar calendar, if the sun passes into a particular constellation. So today is that day. And you'll also notice that all the monks have shaved their heads. In every monastery in Thailand there is a different tradition, exactly the timing, but usually the monks will shave their heads on the same day. Some monasteries it's once a month on the full moon. Here we do it every 2 weeks on the one pra day, either new moon or full moon. So every 2 weeks we shave our head. And it's really interesting because as a monk, when I shave my head, I feel in some ways it's a new beginning. It's refreshing. I feel the cool air on my head. but it also is the sense of a new beginning. It's a fresh start. And in some ways, I always look at every day as almost a chance for a fresh start, to not be bogged down by what came before, and to see everything as new, not to be attached to what came before, whether good or bad. I can't expect what was good yesterday to be good today. And likewise bad. Not to be too attached to what was not so great yesterday, but today is a new start, an opportunity for new, better things to happen. It's also important to remember not to be attached too much to what comes in the future. That hasn't come yet, and we have no idea what that brings. But today is what we have to focus on. And that is what we do also in meditation. We focus on the here and now, and for the few moments of meditation that we have, we choose to to loosen our attachments to what came before, open up the possibility to what may be now and what may be coming in the future, and not to set ideas about what is going to come, but instead just be open to it. And every meditation session in some ways is this new beginning. We do 3 meditation sessions formally a day, some perhaps people do more, and each one is a new opportunity. We can't expect to recreate what happened in the previous meditation session, and we're not necessarily able to plan out what the next ones will be like. So every one is a new beginning, an opportunity to be open to new possibilities. So as we walk in meditation today, and we do this in 3 ways, I'll describe each. In pronouncing Thai, the name is Pu To, and the first method is simply to say 1 syllable per step. Wang Ta Bhavana Wa Pu, Ka, Wang Ta Bhavana Wa To, Pu, To, 1 syllable per step. Simple method of collecting the mind into the present moment. Second method, almost the same, they say the entire name per step. Vititi Sam, Yok Ta Bhavana Wa Pu, Wang Ta Bhavana Wa To. I raise the foot, say 1 syllable, Pu, bring it down, To. Third method, simply coordinate with your breath. Inhalation is Pu, exhalation, To. Vititi Sam. Hai Jai Ka, Bhavana Wa Pu, Hai Jai O, Bhavana Wa To, Pu, To. Very simple methods you can choose. Like that. And also in the Thai fashion, to help us collect the mind, we organize the body in a particular way. It's a form of mindfulness of the body. We direct the gaze about 2 meters in front of us on the pathway. And it doesn't have to be a hard gaze that creates tension or excludes all else. You can certainly be aware of your surroundings. You can even look around and enjoy the beautiful setting. But instead, it's just a reminder to not get too distracted by externals, but instead to look at your own heart and mind. This is the opportunity to do so. And also in the Thai fashion, we hold our hands together in front of us about abdomen or waist level. So any simple clasp of the hands, abdomen, waist level will do. This helps again draw the mind in. It's a calming environment for everybody when we're all doing the same thing. Even people who see us from afar are calmed by seeing us working in this very composed and very deliberate and unified manner. So I encourage you to stick with it. Sometimes it seems uncomfortable at first, but I assure you, you can relax into it. And finally, we space each other out about 3 to 4 meters. It requires mindfulness. It creates a nice environment as well, but it means that we have to be patient when we start. It's a slow start. We need to wait a few moments to give the person in front of us that time to go 3 to 4 meters before we join the line. And in the garden, we continue to be mindful. If we're too close to the person in front of us, we may need to slow down, give them space. If we're too far away, well, we may be slowing down the entire group of people behind us, and then also breaking up the group so that it takes a long time to get back. So I encourage you to be mindful in this regard. It creates a much more pleasant experience, much more unified experience for all of us when we're... But in spite of the guidelines, it's meant to be a pleasant experience, as I said. It's meant to help us have a fresh start, to be here and now and enjoy what the moment offers, what the moment, the joy and the peace that is available to us at all times, here and now. If you find yourself getting tense, that's okay. If you find your mind distracted, that's okay. That happens. We all go through these cycles. We're present, we're happy, and then we're distracted or anxious, fearful, etc. And those are very natural cycles. And also what we're here to do is just to observe the mind, observe what it does, and then understand also what our options are. That, we always have the option to return to our practice, to be here and now. So if you find yourself getting tensed, anxious, frustrated in any way, Okay, that's natural, but just exhale, smile, relax, and remember you can return to the practice here and now. So that's enough to get us started. Following local customs, the monks will lead, followed by the men. If we have Banchi, they go next, followed by the women. So let's begin.
So how do you go about practicing samatha? First, you have to assign an object of consciousness. An object of consciousness could be anything like your breathing, a sensation in your body, a thought about your spiritual friend, or even a simple thought of something that makes you feel happy, sad, or angry. The point of this is you need something that you can focus your mind on as you begin your practice. For about 5 minutes into the practice, you should try not to think of the object of consciousness, but rather know that it exists. Let us use a simple allegory for this purpose. Imagine yourself sitting on a bench watching your favorite football team on the pitch. At first, your thoughts may be fully engaged with everything that is happening during the game. As you watch the game being played out, you may feel excited, happy, or sad. Here, you are thinking about the object of consciousness. That is, the football game. Now imagine after 5 minutes into the game, as you sat in the bench, you simply know that a football match is being played. Get it? Let's use another example in which monks often use as the object of consciousness. Breathing. As you begin your meditation, you sit down comfortably and start breathing. Your thoughts actively engages with the act of breathing as your brain sends chemical signals to the neurons in your brain, nose, and lungs. Now, in order to experience samatha, you will then have to stop thinking about the very act of breathing. Just know that you are breathing. There's no need to force your breath. Just know that your breath will go with what your body requires.
I pay respect to the Sangha. Now down. Anjali Vanta Adiwan. Anjali Vanta Adiwan. Anjali Vanta Anjali.
After the morning meditation session, a monk typically stays a little longer so people can ask questions.
Anyways, good question about self-worth. And I thought about this overnight too, and I thought it was actually really worth analyzing this, breaking it down a little bit, because we talk about it, but it's really kind of good to come down to a consensus of what do we mean by each of these terms. What do you mean by self, and what do you mean by worth? I'll start with the second word. Worth is, in some ways, we think of it in terms of a transactional basis. We're trading one thing for the other, and so, like if you're trading in the marketplace, you have to establish relative value of one thing versus the other. Yeah, as a monk, I try to simplify my life as possible. I have as much, I try not to want things, because as soon as I start wanting things, then I come up against other people who want those very same things. And then you start to get into these conflicts, whether overt or very subtle ways of kind of, people find ways to what you call sabotage each other in so many different ways. Even people who supposedly are your colleagues or your friends or something, but as long as people continue to put value on things outside of themselves, then we all subject ourselves and to other people to these, So when you talk about worth, it's really interesting, because it does have this it is hinges upon external things, and then you have to really look at yourself. And one thing that I do like a monk is I simplify my life so much. Every day, for me, it's the same thing. Every day is like it's like those movies like Groundhog Day or whatever, I get up and I do the same thing. Sometimes it's better than others, but as inmates, it's the same schedule. I do the same things. Some days are better, some days are worse. What's nice about it too is I learn to accept that as long as I can get from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and I get the basic needs met. I eat, I socialize a little bit. I don't get beat up too much by anybody, and I survive emotionally and physically, and so on and so forth, and feel perhaps maybe I've improved a little bit, I've learned a little bit more. I'm looking to see from day to day what causes me to suffer, what's the cause, and it really shows up.
Vipassana is the practice of making the mind stable and knowing the truth of our life. Like breakfast, lunch served is vegetarian. This is important as one of the precepts taught in the monastic practice is to be compassionate towards all living beings. By not eating meat, we can save animals from being hurt through our cravings. At 12:50 p.m., a monk teaches Dhamma and leads the walking meditation through the forest beside the mountain.
Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivajemi.
While the method of samatha allows you to pay attention to one object continuously, Vipassana aims at increasing your awareness, knowledge, and wisdom. Again, how should we go about this? Using the same example used earlier, imagine that you are now watching yourself watching the football match. At this point, the football match will now become the background, and yourself that is being watched has now become the foreground. From the perspective of neuroscience and biological psychology, we only have one brain which controls the mind. So how come there is a mind that observes another mind? This seems confusing for beginners.
Light body is a body that comes from kindness of the people.
The reason why this is so important in meditation is that it allows you to observe your mind while it is reacting to the thoughts of the outside world. If your mind is happy about something, try to observe why it is happy. If your thought gets angry or sad about a particular person or a thing, then try to understand why it is angry or sad. Don't judge it, but just try to understand it.
Like if you have bright aura, it means you have to only the good thing. Just like loving kindness, strong like this, you will have aura.
Another important thing in practicing Vipassana is to observe your mind but not interfere it. During your meditation practice, it is not uncommon for our minds to jump from one thought to another. This is normal. However, your job is to neither encourage it nor suppress it. It is okay to have thoughts passing through your mind, but always try to center your mind back to the practice. In our daily lives, we often move between the two sides of a spectrum. On one side is ignorance, and on the other side are wisdom and knowledge. By practicing meditation, you should move towards clarity and wisdom. People always want more challenges and more things to satisfy themselves. You might also think of it as our very own experience of the modern world, whereby we often fuel our existence by craving for the more, the other, and the next newer experience, all to satisfy our grasping at life, the concept of the I. From the teachings of Buddha, these things could only lead to suffering. Note that there is no I, as our body and mind are merely comprised of form, feeling, memory, mental formation, and consciousness. The potential for suffering is found in the present moment as its cure. Therefore, we suffer in the present and we heal in the present. This seems so intuitive, so obvious, so clear. However, we must be cautioned from oversimplifying in such a way as to say that the spiritual life or the Buddhist practice is all about being in the moment. It is not, unless it includes a clear understanding of the choices being made in our everyday life and the moments therein. Everybody experiences suffering, and most of the things in this world can cause suffering, like your favorite coffee in the morning, your passion for climbing, your relationships, your job, your successes and failures, and so on. The teachings of Buddha doesn't say avoid suffering at all cost, but rather try to live it and deal with it before you externalize your own suffering to others. After all, without suffering, it would be hard to live and experience life to the fullest. Recognize your suffering, don't run away from it. Face it with courage and persistence. Another useful aspect of mindfulness is it changes the way we behave towards certain things. Most of us are not in the position to affect the decisions being made on how much pesticide is allowed to get into our food, how much pollution goes into our air, or how skillful or incompetent our policing system is. So without access to mindfulness, we could simply be frustrated, which then leads to a sense of powerlessness. You cannot control the behavior or the thinking process behind other people, but what you can control is how you and your mind reacts to externalities. Of course, this is much easier said than done, but it's not impossible. If we manage to truly, completely extinguish our feeling of I, our grasping at life, well, then we will see everything as it truly is. We will know in our hearts that everything is okay, that there's nothing to gain and nothing to lose. This is the peace that passes understanding. The Pali word for it is Nibbana. At 4 p.m., everyone is invited to help clean the area and help with anything that they can in the monastery. From 5 p.m., everyone is now free to have tea, coffee, or chocolate, read book, rest, or do anything they want to do. So, what are the key takeaways from this experience? First, you don't have to be a Buddhist to practice vipassana. Buddhism welcomes all kinds of religions, so this provides a great opportunity for anyone to learn and experience meditation. Second, you don't need to be a monk to achieve calmness and peace of mind. Everyone can practice the mindfulness of the mind wherever you are in the world. Third, try to live simply as possible. Of course, we all need healthy relationships. We need social contact or construct that allows parts of our brain to grow. But if this becomes a constant mode of being and experiencing life, we can easily deduce ourselves to feeling unsafe, uncomfortable, angry, frustrated, afraid, anxious, and depressed. Put simply, we need healthy relationships with others. But the most important relationship that you can and should always count on is the one you develop within yourself and towards yourself. This doesn't mean that you need to live in isolation. Being mindful can help you dip in and dip out of everything that our society has to offer. See how much can you get away with in your life. Know what is really important to you, regardless of what other people says or think. Live simply as possible. Remove yourself from ego and too much expectations. Fourth, practice loving kindness onto yourself and others. Accept what is. Try not to get stuck to unproductive state of mind.
Namo tassa bhagavato
The evening session starts with chanting, followed by 40 minutes of meditation in absolute darkness. Then there's a short talk by the Abbott, and all the activities finish at 8:30 p.m. People can either continue meditating in their rooms or have tea, coffee, or hot chocolate with other guests. Buddhism is entirely concerned with being mindful, which is the most direct way to free ourselves from the world of thinking, which hinders us from seeing the absolute truth. Sometimes we ask ourselves, what is happiness? What is the essence of life? Or what should I get from this life? By continuously practicing meditation, this may invite us to see things, our lives, or the world in a different way, and perhaps bear fruit in our everyday life. Remember, meditation is not just a sit down and close your eyes activity. It is basically just watching your own thoughts, just like watching anything else in the world. Why am I having that thought? Does that serve me anymore? There's always a misconception that happiness is just about hitting certain levels of dopamine and experiencing certain pleasures in life. No. Happiness is not just about pleasure. It is whole being. You may experience moments of sadness over someone's passing, but still achieve happiness by celebrating this person's life. Happiness is about how you react to externalities, how you bring your mind back to centeredness, letting go of ego. Contentment, being in the flow, observing and understanding, and seeing things as they truly are. As a final message to everyone who is watching this, all these doctrines cannot be learned just by watching YouTube. Therefore, I encourage you to immerse yourself in the meditation practice and to see it for yourself. I hope you enjoyed this episode and have taken something useful. Please join me again in the next episode as I make my journey back to Pi.
Disciples who have practiced straightly. Jaya Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samsavokam Prabhumi Prabhajao Mudai Patipat Guru Thampe Gương học trà tu leo just somehow all the exalted ones disciples who have Samici Patipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Song Sāvok Thom Prabhuvi Prabhakshau Mudai Patipat Som Phuan Leo Sangha of the exalted ones, disciples who had practiced properly. Yadidam Laikem Bukkon Lao Nikun, that is to say, Jatari Purisa Yukani Atta Purisa Kukala Udang Urut Sikut Napriyam Tua Urut Thy Pad Urut The foreheads of men, the 8 individual persons, Esa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho, Manle Song Sāvok Kom Prabhuvi Prabhakshau, that is the Sangha of the exalted ones, disciples. Ahunayo Ben Son Kun Kesakara Ikau Nama Pusha, worthy of these. Ahunayo Ben Son Kun Kesakara Ikau Cha Vaitam Rap, worthy of hospitality. Takineyo Ben Fukun Rap Patsinatan, worthy of offerings. Anjali Karaniyo Ben Phuti Bukkon Tua Pai Kuan Tham Anjali, who should be respected. Anutaram Punya Keram Lokasanti, and Nam Bun Kalo, my Mina Bun Yikwan, Damni, the incomparable field of merit for the world. Nati me saranam anyam, Sangho me saranam varam, Sarana Kun Kong Ka Chao Mai Ni, Prasong Ben Sarana An Prasan Kong Ka Chao. There is no other refuge for me. The Sangha is truly my refuge. Etena Sancha Vajena Vateyam Satu Sasane, ด้วยการกล่าวคำสัตย์นี้ ข้าพเจ้าเพิ่งเจริญในพระศาสนาของพระศาสดา By the speaking of this truth, May I grow in the Master's way. Sangham me vandamane nayam punyam pasutam ita. ข้าพระเจ้าผู้ไว้อยู่ซึ่งพระสงฆ์ได้ควรควายบุญได้ในบัดนี้ I revere the Sangha through the power of the courage here Buddhist. Sabdepi antaraya me mahe sumtassa tejasa antaraya tham puam ya dai mi ke ka pa chaoด้วยเด็ดแห่งบุญนั้น by the power of that may all dangers never occur to me. Ayena vacham yamacetasa.
Awareness or conscious part of the mind doesn't get activated too much, because that's what you're doing. Aware what's happening, what are the active points. You're thinking always like this machine that keeps going, right?
Yeah.
And then you are activating the awareness, you're trying to tap the awareness, and then stopping the thinking mind from doing too much and going.
กำลังที่เทียนอะไรที่ข้าพระเจ้ากระทำแล้วในพระสงฆ์ whatever evil karma I have done to the Sangha, Sangho patikanhatu jayantam. ขอพระสงฆ์จงงดซึ่งโทษล่วงเกินอานันต์ May the Sangha accept my admission of it. กาลันทะเรสังวาริตุวาสังเกเพื่อการสำรวมระวังในพระสงฆ์ในการต่อไป so that in the future there may be restraint towards the Sangha